Uh, I would like to, well, we'll get started. I would like to welcome everyone to this is episode 3 of the Story of Making Tomorrow. And the Story of Making Tomorrow is a place where we can get together with people we know and talk about what kind of things are happening, both technologically and I don't know, with people and processes and products. And we have with us a gentleman I've known for at least, probably around a decade, right? And in fact, I believe I was at the first meeting you were the chair of there. So that's been a while. That was back in 2014. And our guest is Rob Cannell. He is the executive director of CTMA, the Canadian Tooling and Machining Association, and based in Cambridge, outside of Toronto. He also was president of a company called Micrometric, and it was a machining company. It still exists in Scarborough, correct?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
great memory.
Well,
Yeah.
Here I got this from my grandkids. So thank you for that. But yeah, so among other things, CTMA is doing a lot of programs aimed at the future of machining, right? And while we cover fabricating a whole lot on this show, this is something significant, and it goes just beyond machining or tooling or anything like that. It's about investing in the future, and when we do that, we're not investing in people my age. We're investing in people who are young, learning a trade, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll get into all that. That's enough introduction. Right now, we'd like to speak to Rob about one of their programs just had some milestone making things happen. And that's what we'd like to start with. So Rob, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Dave. It's a pleasure to see you again.
And you. So let's talk about the news came out last week that some of the initiatives that you had launched are in fact coming to fruition. And one of those was getting machinery into the hands of the youth in Canada. So
our program is called Career Ready with CTMA, Expanding Opportunities, and it really has two streams. One stream I'll talk about in a minute. It's some wage incentives to employers to hire new people or to upskill people. I'll talk to that in a minute. The other is working with our partner. They are the Ontario Council for Technology Educators, OCTE. They are your high school tech teachers. And working with them and school boards throughout the province of Ontario, we have been able to secure some funding through the Skills Development Fund in our provincial government and purchase new high-tech equipment for high schools throughout Ontario. So this is buying new CNC equipment, some newer age equipment. Through the years, the schools, and I understand it's not easy for budgets to go out and buy new equipment when you're in a school board, but historically our machine shop classes and our tech classes have sort of stagnated. There hasn't been any new investment in new machines for quite a while. So this initiative is trying to kickstart that and get some new equipment, some high-tech equipment into high schools, so that we can expose younger students to the technology which is on our floor today, not the 40, 50-year-old mills that seem to be still languishing in some of our of our schools. So that's really how the program works.
That is probably the number one challenge to overcome for some of these schools, because hey, this is a great career and it's not like it used to be, but here's a 1952 South Bend lathe you can use, and, and I'm not making fun of them. It's difficult, but that's the situation, and it's unfortunate. So it's really cool that you're trying to reach in at the high school level and get these kids when they're, in their mid-teens to look at this and, you know what? But the way to do that is with modern equipment. Sounds like.
It is. And, when you look at our trade, I've been a machinist for 47 years and I've been in this all my life. And if you look at how young people and myself, how I was exposed to the trade, I was lucky. My dad was a tool maker. So I kind of was grown up with an interest. But if you're going to high school and you're not fortunate to have a family member or a connection, how do you get exposed to the precision metalworking industry? It's not a visual trade. And what I mean by that is, like, when you're growing up, you see your parents take a car to the mechanic to get fixed, or an electrician or a plumber might come to your house to fix something, or you're always seeing construction around. So you're seeing construction and framing. I call them the hard hat trades. They're very visual. How do you get exposed to precision metalworking? Well, really, we need to update our high schools so that, people, young students can see, well, wait a minute, this is kind of cool. And I get it. Like, I'm learning so much more about how school boards work. It's a world that I'm not familiar with. I come from industry where you make decisions, you buy things, you move forward. When I look at some of the schools and I look at the budgets that they have, you can buy a lot of trumpets for the price of a lathe. So it's easy to, get the music department, they're what they want. Oh, we'll buy that new machine next year, everyone knows the price of a Haas mini mill or a Tormac CNC machine. They're not inexpensive. And then you've got to buy the tooling, and, you just can't plunk a machine in there and expect miracles to happen. You have to support that machine. You have to have the consumables. You have to have the measuring equipment. You have to have, all the things that you need to teach people the skills that they need, and so that they be productive when they graduate high school.
Yeah. So one way to do that is to earmark funding. Were you able to do that?
We're very fortunate. We have a good history of kind of thinking outside the box and bringing programs or ideas to our provincial government through the different ministries over time. And they've always been open to ideas, trying to think of something different. So we've been able to be successful in our submissions. And again, like the other half of this program is a wage incentive. If I was to ask you, excuse me, or everybody, a very simple question, and that simple question is, where does most of the training take place? Where do you learn the most? That is really it's very simple answer: at your workplace,
on the job.
On the job. Now, whether that's, I am a tool and die maker, I am a machinist, so I tend to, navigate to the shop floor, where I was very fortunate. I learned a lot of skills and practices from some very, very skilled machinists over the years, and I was fortunate to absorb that. And so, but we call our program Career Ready with CTMA Expanding Opportunities. And what we mean by that is, at first we kind of focused on those shop floor trades: tool and die maker, general machinist, mold maker, millwright, such as so forth, that you tend to focus on. But when you look at a company that's running in the precision metalworking industry, there are programmers, there are designers, there are program managers, there are accounting departments, there are HR departments. It's not just the tool makers that make this. There's a lot of cogs, a lot of wheels that make this machine run. So we really try to focus on all the different employment avenues or vocations within that company. It's not just on the floor. So if you're hiring someone new to be a designer or a programmer or a program manager, you're gonna teach them over a period of time competencies or outcomes that you want them to achieve. So our program is very simple. Develop a list of technical learning outcomes that you want to achieve over a certain period of time. Our placements are 10 to 16 weeks, and they can be consecutive. So if you finish one 16-week, you can add another 16-week within the calendar year if it fits. And develop that list of technical learning outcomes, and we will monitor the progress of the participant in that placement against those outcomes that he or she is achieving. And we do that by physically going into the company and monitoring them. And it works out extremely well. And because if you think about it, I talk way too much, everyone, but if you think about it, when you're training somebody, it comes at a cost. You're taking an experienced professional, and they are taking their time out of their days every day to teach and learn, or to teach and new people new skills. They're no longer producing, they're teaching. So every day that comes at a cost. So what we do is we say, well, why don't we give some of the money back to the company, because they're spending money every day, and we do that through a wage incentive. So you can receive 50% of their wages, up to a maximum of $5,000, again, all Canadian funds, for each 10 to 16-week placement. So that works out very well if you're an employer and you're looking to hire new people or upskill an existing employee with new skills that you train in-house. It has to be training taking place at your place of business.
Okay, which you would have to anyway in most cases.
Correct.
Yeah. It's so interesting, and I think probably, I know you, and I know how you work, and you come out with some really good programs, but you also keep your ears open as you go along, and you probably got some feedback of, Rob, I love the program. We want to do it, and we will do it, but you have to do something to help us with the fact that we're losing hours of our best people training these folks, and that is a wonderful way to overcome that objection. So yeah, let's put this program into, first of all, let's talk about the scope of this program before we move to other things. How big is this? How many people are affected? How many machines are being put in?
You might have caught me off guard a little bit on that one.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the number of machines. I know our target was to do 30 high schools this year throughout Ontario. We've exceeded that. We've been able to move some funding around in our program. We're actually putting new equipment in about 43 schools this year.
Wow.
And each school, it doesn't work out exactly. Some schools are going to get a little bit more, or some are, depending on what they need and where they are. As you can imagine, Ontario is a very, very big province. So you know yourself the scope of things.
Yes.
But to give you an idea, we target around $75,000 to $80,000 worth of equipment for each school.
Okay.
So do the math on that one, and you'll come up with, this is millions of dollars. And we're also buying tooling, so measuring equipment, carbide cutters, end mills, drills, taps, all the consumables that high school teachers, I tell you, when you bring in these machines and the toolkits, and the high school teachers always get the kids to open up the boxes and such and so forth. It's like Christmas, and they just can't believe they're getting all this stuff that that they can use. And they beg, borrow, and steal high school teachers to keep their programs going. So it's a big deal.
It is a huge deal. And when I hear about manufacturing in Ontario, my mind immediately leaps to Mississauga and places like that. But it's not. It's London. It's Hamilton. It's all over the place, as you say.
Yeah, we having schools up in Thunder Bay. So right on Lake Superior, like top of Lake Superior, Sudbury, Ottawa.
Yeah.
So the whole scope of the province is being covered by this program.
Yeah.
But luckily I have help. It's not just me. I have a team behind me that are extremely passionate. Dave Lewis from Opti, Julie McFarlane, Sarah Grandy, Darlene Carr, Dinah Chappis, all at the CTMA. Our board of directors are very, very supportive of the initiatives that we do. I'm just kind of the lucky guy who gets to go out and meet people and see how these, I call them my kids are doing as they go through the program. And also it's interesting. So when I owned Micrometric precision machine shop in Scarborough, you'd have a high school or a college actually come to you and they'd say, well, can you make us some of these parts? And I say, well, what are these parts for? Well, we're making a robot. We want to put it into this competition. And if you make these parts, we'll put your name on the side of the robot, to say that you sponsored it and such and so forth, which is all really good.
That's cool. Yeah. Fair, right?
Yeah. Well, I would encourage everybody watching to go on our website, ctma.com, click on the Career Ready tab. You'll see it, Career Ready with CTMA. There are 2 videos there, part 1 and part 2, very simple. Part 1 kind of describes the program like I just did right now, how it works. Part 2 will show you some of the machine that we've installed in some high schools and how these kids are turned on by having those machines there. And the beauty of it, and always remember, these are high schools. This is not college, university. When you watch this 3-minute video, remember it's a high school. And then look at the robot that they made. And remember, they machined all the parts. Mm-hmm. They made the parts in their high school class with the machines that we provided. So we're also finding when the students graduate, and the CTMA is not against colleges and universities or anything like that. We're not. But we also believe there's another avenue for careers. And I think it's been lacking. When you finish high school, you should have been taught skills and competencies that you can start a career with when you finish high school.
Agreed.
And if you think about it, in Ontario, if you need, and I'm not sure what different states' jurisdictions are, but in Ontario, if you wanted to be an apprentice as a general machinist, tool die maker, such and so forth, you need a company to sponsor you within the provincial system. So when these students are graduating high school, and you know what? They can cut a thread on a lathe. They can turn things. They can square up a block. They can program a CNC machine. From graduating high school, they're snapped up. They are snapped up by companies. Companies are looking for them, and they begin earning right away. So they're graduating at 18 years of age, out of grade 12 or grade 13 or the lap year, whatever they call it. And they're making money right away. So they're earning and while they're learning, and they're learning at their place of business. So you will also find that, and I don't want to speak for every company, but you'll also find that company will not only sponsor you in your apprenticeship, path, they'll pay for your tuition. So you got to go to college as part of the apprenticeship system.
Yeah.
As long as you keep your grades and you do well, the companies support you. So it really is, instead of racking up a lot of college debt and spending 2 or 3 years in college, and then, why not start working and then learning from your peers, earning some money, and you'll find that if you want to move into the colleges and then maybe a university as far as design or programming or engineering, the companies are very supportive of that.
It seems almost to be an outgrowth of things that we've seen in the private sector. I believe I have this man's name right, Bob Solch.
Mike Soltz Sr.
Mike Solch, thank you.
Started Valiant Machine Tool.
Valiant. And they had this earn while you learn thing, right?
Yeah. And very successful. It's funny, I was talking to Mike Sr. last week. He's 92 years old.
God bless him.
And he started Valiant Machine Tool back in the early 60s. And, a little 1,500 square foot shop.
That's great.
It has 9. Today it has, he's no longer involved at 92. But I believe there are 9 locations in Windsor and 13 countries that Valiant TMS now work in. It's a big concern, as you could well imagine.
Wow. That's based successful. In Windsor, right? Windsor area?
Windsor, yes. Yeah. And still there. There in Windsor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember having dinner with him, and just impressive, very much a hands-on guy. Look, I'm a machinist, and wow, just such an impressive man. And but things like this are coming up. Another one is Mike Willett at the college, and I think that's in Windsor as well, right?
Correct. St. Phil College in Windsor. Mike has a program that came out of our introductory trades training program, and also the Valiant program, the Earn While You Learn program, and that has been doing very well. Again, thinking outside the box. So.
Yeah, but this particular program that we've been talking about is a CTMA program, and it has been your initiative, and I've watched you over the years really try to work with the government. Because if you said, hey, if we devote dollars here, guess what? We're going to hang on to our manufacturing and grow it. And that's the ultimate goal. But it's even that is just a little pie slice of what you are doing as an organization and and as individuals, pieces of CTMA, all your members, your board. Talk about the kind of bigger landscape of this.
Of the association or the program?
Yeah, of the this is just one of your programs. I mean, you also have programs that I've been involved with, which is all the the young people who get in as newbies into this business, and suddenly, hey, guess what? You've won an award, and we're giving you tooling and all this great stuff. So there are a lot of pieces to this.
Yeah, for decades, to be honest with you, CTMA has had their annual apprentice awards.
Yeah,
where we have an apprentice award committee, where we have members. We ask them to bring forward, apprentices that are, that step above. The ones that work late when needed, the ones that come in early, the ones that figure out how to do different things. Them, the guys and the gals who are always a step above. So, we ask them to bring forward participants every year. And these are not little Mickey Mouse, here's a little gift certificate to a restaurant. Last year, our award winners, there were 6 apprentices and 1 pre-apprentice. They're getting $1,000 in cash. The top apprentice is $1,500, plus all sorts of tools from our sponsors: Michitoyo, KBC, In-House Solutions. I'm sure Sandvik. I'm sure I'm going to miss one, but my apologies. But these total packages, for an apprentice award winner is $2,500 to $3,000 per person.
Yeah.
and they're always given out at our annual general meeting, usually in September or October in the fall. Last year we had 180 people attend our annual general meeting, which is a record for us. And last year, and it's funny, I'm just working on an email sending it out. We started a high school award as well.
Great.
So that's something new. And our theory, and again, a lot of kudos goes to our president, Chris Herget from Excel Tool, who's always, striving to bring forward that outreach to high schools. So, why don't we have? He said we were at a board meeting and we're sitting around. He says, I'm tired of going to these graduations for my kid, and you sit there for a length of time and you watch kids go up and they get the math award and the science award and such and so forth, and there's applause as they go across the stage and they get their award. He says, why don't we have an award for the machine shop class? And why don't we make that a big award?
Yeah.
So when young Dave Brandberg got his award from the CTMA when he was in high school, and he walks across the stage and they give him a nice plaque and a check for $1,000.
Yes.
The parents in the audience are going, who is that Dave kid? And what class? He was in the machine shop class? Well, wait a minute.
My kid got nothing. Yes.
So we did that last year.
That's great. That's great.
And again, it's it's not insignificant. If you have $1,000 prize,
yes,
that brings attention to our industry again. So we're doing our high school awards, our apprentice awards. The CTMA, Julia's always puts a huge effort into our annual wage and business survey.
Oh yeah.
It's industry specific. It went out yesterday. The results went out yesterday.
Oh, great.
That's a huge benchmarking tool that the CTMA provides. We do plant tours for our members throughout the years. We also are a member of ISMA, the International Special Tooling Machining Association. It's a worldwide association for machining associations, and it keeps you involved in what's going around the rest of the world and such and so forth.
You've done some trade trips with them, correct?
Yes, yeah. And there's the different tooling expos, the World Tooling Conferences we've been to. So we're pretty busy. Of course, COVID stopped a lot of that international traveling and is starting to come back a little bit now. So we'll just gauge that as it moves forward. But we're now back to hosting our plant tours. We don't do a lot in the winter, as you can well imagine, with the weather in Ontario. It gets pretty difficult, as some of the northern states can attest to. And so we try to focus on the spring and fall for plant tours. And another thing that we've been doing very successfully, and a lot of our members get really involved, I love it, is get involved with your local high school. Mm-hmm. Go to a job fair, set up a booth. We have a pamphlet that we've made. It's careers within the precision metalworking industries. And, estimator, engineering design, automation and robotic programmers, administrators. It's not just the tool maker, or there's a lot of, as I said before, a lot of wheels to keep these machines running.
Oh yeah.
We've been going to all different events with the high schools. Again, outreach. You're trying to get the kids interested in a career within our industry.
Yeah. I would say if we can switch gears and get into maybe what's unique about the Canadian market and what's not unique. We always hear, well, take the U.S. market and divide by 10, and then, but that's that would be a little too easy now, wouldn't it? I think some of your success at the provincial level is unprecedented here. No one has gone to, for example, the governor of Illinois and successfully said, we've got to create a program that's going to ensure we have manufacturing later because all of our companies are moving out to Indiana and Wisconsin and Iowa. So, um, it takes effort. It takes a receptive audience. It takes an effort from people who won't give up. But what else? What else can you see that's maybe unique or not unique about your efforts and your results?
That's a tough one to answer. We have a certain resolve that we're all very passionate, and we believe if we don't do something, we're going to lose it. And I guess it's that kind of attitude that you don't want to lose. And if you think about a tool maker, it's a certain type of person who becomes a tool maker. You got to be fussy. You got to be picky. You got to want to do things right, and you've got to work within tolerances, not just within tolerance. You got to get in the middle of that tolerance, right? You want to be right. So I think if you have that attitude, that really helps, and I think our board of directors and our staff all have that attitude. So I think that helps, and you also have to have the willingness on the provincial government side. And you mentioned as we started quite a few minutes ago, we've known each other for, over 10 years. So you could well imagine that over 10 years, you get different governments, running the province. So we've been able to work with Liberal governments and Conservative governments and different ministers in different areas. And we've been able to, be successful. And then when they look at your record and what you've been able to do and the number of jobs and apprenticeships that you've been able to start, you kind of build upon that. So we've been fortunate to be able to have people listen to us and accept our ideas.
Okay. And I know this too, that as an organization, you're very people oriented. You yourself are very people oriented, even though you like to have things in the middle of their tolerance. You're also a very gifted people person as well.
Thank you.
Not to mention a very gifted amateur golfer, and you put on and you put on some good golf tournaments and parties and so forth. So
thank you.
But I feel like the organization's in a great spot, health wise, right?
Yeah, no, we're very pleased with what we're doing. We're growing. We were able, when this whole COVID sort of thing came about, we were thinking, how many members are we going to lose? If things really turn down, a membership to association is very low hanging fruit. Oh, well, we're not going to pay that this year. We're going to, but we actually increased our membership over the COVID times, and we're doing well. I think people are starting to realize that, and it's really funny. It's very frustrating at times. Like, I think of our overall membership, just about 180 members, I guess, somewhere around there. But I think of all the thousands of shops in Ontario, and we should have thousands of members. But it's difficult. It's there are some people. There's some people who think part of you can't get along without being part of an association, and there are some companies that don't want to even give you time of the day. I don't want to get involved in an association. I don't, just leave me alone. Let me do my work. Right. So they're a tough nut to crack, but we keep trying. And, one by one, we're getting bigger and bigger, and we're having a stronger voice. So I think that helps.
And people, I think, look at an association and say, like you said before, is this critical to my business? And the answer is it's critical to my habitat. It's critical to my business environment. And it's up to me to, yeah, will it be a sacrifice? Yeah. Will there be fun along the way? Sure, there will. But there will be a time element and an expertise sharing element, and even a contact sharing element that people will have to acknowledge before they do it. But if you are of a mind to improve your own habitat, then it's a no brainer. So
I think, when I owned Micrometric, Micrometric, as you say, still there in Scarborough,
yeah.
started, incorporated 1961.
Wow.
So it's been around a long time. When myself and my business partner, Vince, we own Micrometric. And Micrometric has been part of the CTMA since the 70s, so
Mhm.
for over 50 years. But when I owned Micrometric, which again, it's a relatively small shop, I I thought, being part of the CTMA, being part of this larger association, gave me a voice, and it helped, helped me understand the business that I'm doing, and it also took off my blinders because, you tend to go to work at 6 in the morning, make sure the compressor's running, make sure everything's going, yeah, and then you work, 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 and then you have no time for it. But then go to a plant tour, meet your peers, talk to people about, they have the same problems you have. How did you get over this? What did you do? You'll also find, oh, wait a minute. Oh, you can share work, you can outsource, you can, we all have that circle of companies that we work with. And I found, if I needed some sill grinding done, or if I needed some, something that I didn't have could do right away, you have these companies that you pick up the phone or you
Yeah.
send an email and you get in touch with them. The CTMA expands that circle. So
Right.
you have all these other members that you can outreach to. And, we have on our website outsourcing capabilities portal where our members can literally, look and say, I need some, I need some sill grinding done. And, I've got 24 pieces, 2-inch diameter, such so forth length. You need them done in 2 weeks. And you can put that on our website, and then that goes out to all of our members, and then bang, right? It's just a simple email. I can do that for you. Give me a price, and away you go,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's good. Valuable.
so that's valuable. So, yeah, no, sorry. Again, I talk way too much, Dave. So,
Yeah. I love to hear you talk because you're doing so many good things. So, um, but yeah, any other thoughts on the Canadian market? I guess we could end with that. Um, you're doing well. How's the Canadian market for machining? Is it preserving or?
I think it's pretty. It's been very good.
Mhm.
We've come out of the pandemic. I believe well. It's funny. I was in a lot of shops last week who have participants in our Career Ready program, and I actually personally monitor the participants as they move forward. So
Wow.
that's really good for me because I get to go out into the shops and see how they're busy they are and see what they're investing in and such and so forth. So um, I'd say there was a good mix of shops that are very busy and some that are very, not, I shouldn't say very slow, but a little slower. There tends to be this, you hear in the news, oh, it's going to slow down, it's going to slow down, and such
Right.
and so forth. I don't know if they're wishing a recession upon us,
I
but
know.
um,
I
some
know.
of the companies are very, very busy. Again, we can't find people. I can't find people, right? And it's what I hear time and time again. We have a lot of members that are in all different parts of the industry: automotive, hydro, nuclear, aerospace, medical. Um, so they're very diverse. But as you know, the automotive um, landscape is changing dramatically. And with the evolution or the switch to EVs, and
Yeah.
Ontario has got some big investments in battery plants and such and so forth. Canada as a whole, if you think about it, We're very fortunate to have a lot of the minerals and the things that, the base substances that we need. So, and I think Ontario and our governments have been really bullish on bringing investments to Ontario, which is helping us. And so I feel we have a very strong future. And you hear a lot. Oh well, there's not a same amount of parts that go into an engine, but you're still bringing out new models. That interior has to be made, and those door panels have to be made, and those suspension pieces have to be made, and
servo motors all over the place, and
yes, and think of think of an electric motor, and I'm going back to my tool and die days, right? There's rotors and stators in every motor, and they have to be stamped, and they have to be made. So there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, I have truly enjoyed our conversation, and it won't be the last. And in fact, I hope to see you at Pine Knot maybe this year, and that would be a blast. But in the meantime, just thank you so much. Feel welcome, in my business anytime, because we love to hear updates from you.
Thank you very much, Dave, and doing a great job. And thank you for the opportunity. Always a pleasure to touch base with you, and we'll be in touch soon. How's that sound?
Okay. Sounds great. Thanks so much, Rob.